Hey, Chris Sider here, founder of Ex-Boyfriend Recovery. Today we're going to be talking about why your ex isn't responding to you and what you can do about it. But first, if you haven't already, I would highly recommend that you pause this video and stop by our website to take our free quiz designed to tell you if you have a chance of getting your ex back or not. That's one of the biggest questions I get time and time again, and the worst thing you can do is waste your time trying to get an ex back that you really don't even have a chance of getting back. So if you want to take that free quiz, all you have to do is simply look into the description link below this YouTube video. Click on the link there. It's going to take you to a page that will ask you questions about you, your ex, and your time together. Then based on your answers, we're going to run them through our advanced algorithm to spit out a score that will tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. So again, all you have to do if you want to take that free quiz is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. Let's begin.
Today we're going to be talking about why your ex isn't responding to you. I'm going to be talking specifically about 4 things that you need to be looking at at these behaviors and see if you're engaging in them, and that could basically tell the whole story of why your ex won't respond to you. And also we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to change that narrative and flip it on its head to actually get them to respond to your text messages or any kind of conversation that you have. So there are 4 things I really want to talk to you about today. The first thing is you being the crazy ex. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, one of the reasons your ex may not be wanting to respond to you is the fact that they view you as crazy. They view you as emotionally unstable. And probably the best example I can give of this is actually a story from my own life where when I was around 20 years old, I met a girl. You know, every great story starts out like that. This girl wasn't, I wouldn't say captivating, but she was interesting enough to hold my interest and sort of want to get to know her. The problem is, after about a week of knowing her, she looked like this to me. Literally like this times 100. So here's the breakdown. I've known this girl for a week, and she's already treating the two of us like we're engaged, to the point where if I'm not responding to her right away, she is getting angry at me, calling me names and everything. And it gets to the point where I actually have to text her this. I literally say, hey, I'm not going to continue this friendship with you if you treat me this way. We have known each other for a week, and you have no right to get upset with me for simply not responding to you fast enough. Now, my experience, when you try to tell someone to change their behavior, change is hard to come about. Usually you will see small changes in the short term, but eventually what happens is people get back slowly to how they were before. And that's exactly what happened in this case with this particular, I guess, Harley Quinn, right? So what happened was I send this to her, and immediately she backs off and kind of calms down for about another week. But then after another week, we had another incident where she freaked out, and it angered me to the point where I sent her this text. Look, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to continue being friends with someone who is this unstable. I'm sorry to say, but I'm going to have to block you. And I literally blocked her, never knew what happened to her from that day on, because she was so emotionally unstable. And I looked at her as the crazy person. Now, bear in mind, I'd never met this person in person before. I had known this person for, at this point, about 2 weeks. We never, ever had an emotional connection, but she was treating it like that. And that was a little alarming to me. So here's my point. I want you to think back to your behavior with your ex and see if you've dug yourself into this kind of a hole where you have appeared so emotionally unstable, you've been viewed as that crazy ex. And that can actually explain one of the reasons for why your ex isn't responding to you when you reach out to them. The next reason that your ex could not be responding to you when you reach out to them is that you only talk about things that you are interested in. Now, here's kind of the little known fact that a lot of people don't know. Everyone is self-interested. meaning we don't want to hear about what you're interested in. We want to hear about what we're interested in. Think about this video. I'm making this video mostly for men and women who are going through breakups and on some level want to get back with their exes. If you don't want to get back to with your ex, then probably this isn't the content for you. This isn't the audience. The video is made for that specific audience. You're not that audience, I'm sorry to say. Now, if you are wanting your ex back, a lot of the reason you want your ex back is based in self-interest. It's because you think if you get back with your ex, everything's going to be okay and you're going to feel better. You wouldn't be engaged in this behavior or trying to get your ex back if you didn't think it was going to make you feel better. And the same thing kind of applies here to your ex. They don't want to be with someone who they think isn't going to advance their own situation, that isn't going to provide more benefits than they think that you potentially can provide. Now, this also is an interesting thing when you look at conversations, because a lot of times when you're having a conversation with your ex, you have your blinders on and you're only talking about things that you're interested in, not your ex. That's an important thing to remember, and actually something that I experience quite a bit with my wife. Sometimes when my wife will, and I'm totally going to get in trouble for telling this story, but hey, that's just... I care about you guys that much. But sometimes when my wife and I are having a conversation, she'll start talking about things that interest her. Like, hey, what do you think of this dress? Now, I'm not really interested in dresses. So what I can sort of do is zone out a little bit. I'll kind of go, I don't know. And then I'll think to myself, I'm really not that interested in dresses. Now, I'm not doing this because I don't have feelings for her or anything like that. I love this person more than anyone in the world. The thing is, though, it's just not that interesting of a conversation to me. Now, she also does the same thing to me when I start talking about something that's super engaging and exciting to me, but not really so much to her. And I can notice she'll zone out sometimes. So it's a type of behavior that really is instructive of the type of quality of conversations that you're going to have. The best conversations that you're going to have with someone are going to be about things that both of you are interested in, most likely. So if you both share a shared interest and you both get excited about that, the quality of your conversations are probably going to go up. Now, the problem is a lot of people are having conversations with their ex about things that they care about, but not things that their ex cares about. So what happens there is you get into that pattern and your ex is thinking, I don't really want to talk to him or her because they're just going to talk about that one thing, and I don't really care about that. So that could be another reason why your ex isn't responding to you. The next reason is you don't have a good hook. And I put a fun little picture of Captain Hook there because guess what? I'm just stupid like that. Anyways, what is a hook? Well, a hook is a way to incite enough curiosity to get your ex to respond. Oftentimes when I'm talking about hooks, I'm talking about things related to text messaging. So a great hook in a text message is, you're not going to believe what happened to me, or hey, can you keep a secret? Something that incites enough curiosity to really make your ex want to respond. Now, here's the interesting thing. A really great hook is going to combine two concepts. It's going to combine curiosity with self-interest. When I first started ex-boyfriend recovery and ex-girlfriend recovery, I falsely believed that all you needed to do when you text your ex to get them to respond to you is just create enough curiosity. Make the text so interesting that they have no choice but to respond to it. I no longer believe that's the case. I think a perfect first contact text message, or a perfect hook, if you will, is going to combine curiosity with self-interest. So a lot of mistakes I see people making is when they reach out to their ex, they're reaching out with something like, hey, there's no curiosity there and nothing to do with self-interest. Now, what would that look like? What would a great text message hook look like? Well, curiosity is actually really easy to create. It's simply probably the best curiosity are different pattern interrupts, something that will interrupt the pattern of what is normal when you text your ex. So something like, you're not going to believe what happened to me, or you're not going to believe where I am, or can you keep a secret, or I have a confession to make. These are all meant to grab your ex's attention and suck them in. But where you keep their attention is with self-interest. So that's where you start talking about things that they're interested in. Probably the best example recently I've seen of this is someone who worked at a bookstore. and an author was going there to do a bookstore at like a Barnes and Noble or something like that, and this was their favorite author, right? So the person text messaged their ex to tell them that this was going on, and it really started a great conversation between the two. That's how you use a hook properly. So the third reason for why I think most people fail to get responses is they literally start off by using text messages like this. That's no good. Now, the fourth one is probably my favorite one to talk about, and I talk about this one a lot, but that is the fact that you fail to build up enough excitement throughout your conversations with your ex. Now, the average trajectory of a conversation will look like this, right? As more time goes on, satisfaction can go up, but eventually it will hit a point where it goes down. We've all hit that point in a conversation where we literally kind of have this out-of-body experience and we say to ourselves, wow, I don't want this conversation to end. That's usually the peak. That's usually when the conversation is at its best. But if you stay on the phone with someone for 3 hours straight, the end of the conversation is not going to be anything like the peak of the conversation. So the big mistake I see a lot of people making is that they'll end conversations right here. Now, when they do that, you would think, oh, what's the big deal? We just had this really great conversation. There was highs and lows, sure, but it was like a 2-hour conversation. The problem is you're not giving your ex enough of a reason to get excited about responding to you for the next conversation. People like closure, right? Human beings like... they don't like open loops. They don't like unanswered questions, right? Now, why is that? Well, we don't like it because we like closure. We like complete circles, if you will. We like the loops to be closed. We don't like any unanswered questions. It annoys us. But that annoyance can actually create excitement. Think of a big story on TV like Game of Thrones, right? They don't tell you the whole story in one fell swoop, right? That's boring. That gets annoying, and that's tedious, right? Game of Thrones has 7 seasons as of the date. It's going to have 8 total when it's all done. Each episode's an hour long. Maybe there's close to 100 episodes. You're talking about if you were to watch that story from start to finish to get the full impact of what's going on there, it's 100 hours straight. You would not be able to sleep. Right? But what Game of Thrones does is they divide it into these little 1-hour segments. Why? Because there's unanswered questions so that there's a reason for you to continue to come back and watch the next episode. Well, your conversations with your ex are a little like that. The more you stretch them out, the less satisfying they're going to be, or the less excitement there's going to be for the next conversation, especially if you wait until the conversation wanes. But if you wait and end the conversation right at the peak, there's enough excitement for them to want to talk to you again. And the failure I see a lot of people making is that they end the conversations here when they should be ending the conversations here. Now, that's an important distinction to make. Now, this is the average sort of satisfaction chart when it comes to conversations. Not every chart is going to look this way. Now, this is assuming just you're having a good conversation with the ex. But what happens if you have a bad conversation with your ex? What happens if you can't get the conversation off the ground? The conversation is unsatisfying. In fact, the conversation is short. What do you do then? Well, in that case, you're running into a little bit of a different problem. So excitement is the thread that connects these two ideas, right? Just with this one, you're talking about ending a conversation when the excitement isn't at its peak. And with this one, you're talking about there's no excitement or satisfaction at all. So there's 2 different ways to tackle these problems. The first way here is pretty simple. You just simply end the conversation when you feel it's at its peak. This one's a little bit more difficult because then you have to start getting into concepts that really will engage your ex further to get them to invest more and get more satisfaction out of the conversations. Now, answering this question is something that I cannot do for you in this video, but I can do for you in my best-selling book, because this particular circumstance is one of the most common that I sort of encounter. And I've actually worked with lots of people to help them find ways to make their conversations more satisfying. I've already told you a big one, which is making the conversation about them. Really make it self-interested towards them. But if you're wanting a little bit more advanced concepts, all you got to do is simply look in the description link and basically buy my book, Ex-Boyfriend Recovery Pro. Now, I'm not going to say like you absolutely essentially need to do that. I'm just saying if you want to learn how to engage someone more in a conversation, that would be a good investment of your money and time. So that's going to do it for this particular video. I'll be recording another one tomorrow, and I'm going to continue to try to stay on top of these daily.